I don't do a huge number of these videos, and maybe I need to start doing a bit more of these videos. I think I've done quite a many recently, focusing on police abuse, police just malfeasance, to put it mildly. Tulsa, Oklahoma is being investigated, the police in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They beat, kicked, handcuffed children savagely, and you never guess why. In a million years, you would never guess why. They arrested the kids. There's an investigation apparently into what is taking place. Why do you believe, before I give you the answer and before I show you, why do you believe cops will grab kids, handcuff them, and then savagely beat them after they're handcuffed and even after they're put into the car? Jaywalking. You heard that right. Jaywalking. They accused Eric Garner of selling loose cigarettes and then dispensed maximum justice for loosies. The other officers watched. And in this case, children who are being accused of jaywalking and are in the car, not fighting, not resisting. And again, I make the point to you that insulting you does not give you right or privilege, either legally, ethically, or morally, to dispense justice beyond taking them to jail. You may not like it. You may be annoyed by it. They may be pissing you off. That does not give you right to put your hands on them. You must understand that that can't be part of the job description, that anytime you piss a cop off, they can dispense maximum justice. They can break your nose because they don't like you popping off to them. Or in this case, beat the shit out of the kids. Unconscionable. 1,000 killings a year. Jaywalking. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. This video is not going to be long. I just found this video to be atrocious. And so I thought I'd do a quick video on this video because I find it to be utterly atrocious. Again, I get it. If I'm a cop, I have all sorts of authority. I have a gun. I have pepper spray. I have mace. Maybe those things are the same. I have tear gas if I need to. I have a shotgun, probably in the trunk somewhere. I can call in for reinforcements. I can have my partner, if he's resisting, dispense justice. And if he's really resisting, where I think my life is at stake, the state gives me legal fiction, permission, human being, to dispense maximum justice. Wonder what? 99% of the time, I'm going to walk. As one cop said, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And so any infraction, boom. But this doesn't really get to abuse. Just abuse. Meaning abuse where the person doesn't die. Such as, in this case, kids jaywalk. And this results in them having a pretty horrible day. Let's watch the clip.
He kicking his kid. He's kicking his kid in his car. Talks to police. He done choked this kid, hit this kid. Look at him. Look how he's pulling this kid out of the car.
Oh man, look at him.
These are kids. These are kids. These are kids. These are kids. But he kicking his kid. He's kicking his kid in his car. Talks to police.
I get it. Being a cop is not the easiest job in the world. It is true, however, that a garbage man or somebody is more likely to die. A garbage man is more likely to die on a job than a cop. By the same token, you have to deal, and I don't think this is fair, by the way, your state throws you up against intractable problems. What I mean by that is, if you're looking at where the highest crime rates are, and again, this is not determinative, statistical, they're in bad neighborhoods. Now that's rational, right? I mean, if you are well off and you have the things that you need to get by, your propensity for crime, or at the very least the incentive for it, to some degree diminishes because of what you can lose if you get caught. Now, the key here is comparative. If you don't have those things, if you are in situations of lack where you need to get this or you need to get that and you don't have access to the resources to purchase those things, well, this notion of crime or going into maybe potential elements that can potentially get you those things increases. Again, not determinative. There's some people who take opioids. There's some people who deal with the stress by extending a certain degree of violence on somebody else. Sometimes they internal, meaning people who want to commit suicide. People deal with it all sorts of ways, and people have all sorts of coping mechanisms, and people deal with it better than others at times. But if you're looking for just a statistical way of trying to deal with crime, deal with poverty. Nobody wants to do that. We, as a society, accept nearly half of the population earning $18,000. We accept that knowingly. And in order to deal with it, they throw in cops, which is kind of good to my point. Cops has no capacity to deal with the problems to which they're faced with. So on some level, I sympathize. By the same token, that doesn't excuse this level of atrocious behavior, because I firmly believe that this is just cops being cops, that this behavior is common, that this is something that they do day in, day out. I know people like to say, well, it's not all cops. Perhaps from a probability standpoint, I would imagine that might be true. But when I see cops stand beside and watch as a murder commences, as a beating commences, as an injury commences, and I know that every incentive in the world is for cops to back other cops, because the last thing you want to happen is you need somebody and they're not there to back you up. I get it. That's inexcusable. I don't know what he said to you. I don't really care. I understand that you may not have liked it. I understand that that's a little bit of a pain in the ass to do. I don't know how you handle that, but you don't handle it that way. Authorities in Tulsa, Oklahoma are investigating the arrest of black teenagers accused of jaywalking. The new video with an eyewitness showing the officer forcibly removing the teen from the patrol car and onto the ground. More tonight. And this is what, PBS News? No, I'm sorry. This is American News or whatever this is called. I don't know what this one is. World News Tonight. Yeah, World News Tonight, ABC News. Like, share, and subscribe. Every video like this legitimizes those protests. Candace Owens may want to try to take the piss out of Floyd as if his virtue is somehow being is in the thing that's in question. The protest has nothing to do with that. The protest has to do with videos like that. I can show you 1,000 of those. That's what the protest is about. That needs to stop. That is not a way police force engages the society. And if the cops are making the argument that, well, our society is violent and aggressive, etc., so we need to look into why your society is producing that. I would put to you that that's the way to deal with it. People who are saying defund the police, I got to be honest, I've said before, that is too diminutive. You should go with this notion of poverty. Any notion of police is really a conversation about poverty. I call it diminutive for that reason. On that point, we make an assumption that police is necessary. Even people who are talking about defund the police are not entirely talking about police abolition. I don't mean this in a Pollyannish way where it's like just get rid of the police stations now. No, I do think you deal with poverty and dealing with defunding the police. Meaning, I think you need to do both. I don't think it's one or the other. Because the fact of the matter is, if you deal with the poverty aspect of it, you make police to some degree redundant. The amount of crime goes down. The number of healthy people goes up. Meaning less opioid abuse, less drug abuse, less drug selling, and those type of things. That stuff goes down. Those things don't thrive in healthy communities. I would argue start there. Whatever's left over, we can talk about. But I strongly suggest the bulk of it will diminish and go away. You have to deal also with the income inequality gap. There is no way around that. I've firmly come to the conclusion that you have to deal with the reparations argument. And I know for the longest time, you guys have heard me against that politically, even though I'm for it. I think I've always said I was for it. I think my issue was always, I didn't think white America would be okay with it. And if we're going for something like Medicare for all and elimination of student debt, et cetera, it allows a platform where the people who are at the bottom of that will greatly benefit from that. But my opinion is somewhat changing on this. When I look at the wealth gap and I see 176,000 versus 18,000, that number is startling. That's a shocking number. And you look at it and you realize that's not changing. It's not changing for obvious reasons. One class had all of the wealth, and because they had all of the wealth, that wealth expands and grows, and the other part didn't. There's nothing to grow, nothing to expand. And so you have this kind of permanent underclass enshrined basically by law, with no one ever even addressing or dealing with the fact that that's a vestige going back from slavery. I mean, for fuck's sake, all the way up to like the 1980s, you had blacks who were locked out of certain positions, locked out of certain locations where they could live, or for that matter, priced out. Because again, if you're locked out of certain positions, you're not going to be making the money to get into certain locations. I mean, we're talking about recent memory here. My grandmother, her mom, if I'm not mistaken, was a slave. Isn't that amazing? We think of that stuff as like that stuff was forever ago. It wasn't. And we are seeing the vestiges of that when we look at basically history sticking to itself when we see those numbers. Yeah. I came to this one being pulled just based on what the data was. But I definitely think it's a conversation that needs to be had, all things considered. That's it. Like, share,